What's up, everybody? I'm Kyle Carlson, and this is the Rollback BMX Podcast, the #1 BMX podcast in the universe, according to me. Today's guest is Anthony Napolitan. At only 32 years of age, Anthony is already a veteran of the sport. He's one of the most progressive riders when it comes to doing big tricks in recent memory, and shows no signs of slowing down today. We discuss his infamous crash where he ended up front flipping onto a fence, inventing the double front flip and essentially having it stolen from him, hosting the Red Bull Dreamline events and eventually parting ways with Red Bull, what his future holds, and many other topics. So listen up, it's a long one. Here is the Rollback BMX Podcast with Anthony Napolitan. All right, Anthony, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I have, first and foremost, a rumor from a pretty good source I need to address with you.
Okay.
I heard that you're a virgin.
Definitely not. I am married, and I'm
married to my job, and I don't have sex with it.
Yeah, you got a good point. You do. I just made a grown man blush, 2 seconds in the
So interview. It's not true?
It is not true. I've not been a virgin for a long time, Kyle.
For at least 3 hours.
At least 3 hours.
Well, good for you, man. Congratulations. How you've been married 2 years?
Yeah, over 2 years now.
Are you still happy with it?
Yeah, it's great, man. It's no joke either. There's, a lot of people are like, the first year of marriage is the hardest. And I was always like, whatever, dude, or whatever, whoever's telling me this.
Whatever gender neutral person.
And, but it really is. Yeah, and we lived together before we got married too. So I figured there wouldn't be a ton of adjustment, but yeah, there is adjustment, and, you just got to figure things out,
Has it changed anything in your life as far as you're pretty dedicated to riding BMX. You do what you want. You've been on your own for a long time. Anything weird or bad?
No, it really hasn't. I still ride every day. My deal is I ride Monday through Friday, yeah. And the wife works Monday through Friday, and she has Saturday, Sunday off. And so I take Saturday, Sunday off. So that's kind of our time to hang out. And, she works super hard.
Yeah.
She's always working, probably more than she has to.
For anybody listening that doesn't know, what is her job?
Okay, so my wife is she works in marketing and PR at Foxhead Inc., which is Fox Racing. And she does a lot of other jobs outside of marketing and PR. She does a lot of events and stuff like that. She does her fair share of traveling throughout the year as well.
I know she's for BMX people at Fox. I think she's the point of contact, isn't she?
Yeah, and she is, and that falls under marketing for her too. But she is the BMX team manager, and she's been the BMX team manager for a really long time.
Since Robbo?
Yeah, she... Even when Robbie was technically the BMX team manager, I think that she really helped Robbie out with a lot of stuff that he needed help with too.
Yep.
So, but yeah, she's been there for a long time. I think she's been there for 12 years.
How old is she?
She is 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a couple years on you?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
How have you managed to not finagle your way on the Fox team getting paid $300,000 a year?
Because my wife is super, super professional.
I figured.
It is a conflict of interest. And which is funny you bring that up, because
I was joking, by the way, but
no, I know,
I wanted to hear how
but
you
it respond. Is funny though, because obviously with her working there, I've become close with a lot of her coworkers and people that she really hangs out with at work. And they always tell her, I don't understand why you just don't put your husband on the team and this and that. And, when I don't have, clothing deals, I rode for DC for part of our relationship. And then there was a dry spell of no clothing. And then the torque stuff had come up for a few years. But anytime that I don't have a clothing deal or whatever, or have an obligation to ride certain apparel, I'm honestly in Fox.
Well, they make good, clean, plain. They make the douchey shit too, but they have anything you wear looks fine.
Yeah, exactly. Their clothing is just really comfortable in general, but they make really good blanks too. They make stuff that has the tiniest little fox head, an inch wide fox head logo on it, and it's perfect.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that time you tried to front flip over a fence like a dickhead. That was crazy. So everybody's seen the clip, I would imagine.
Yes. That's actually what I'm known for now. I'm not known for...
Is that good or is that bad?
I'm trying to still figure that out. So yeah. It's funny. It's really... So in the beginning of the year, I did a month of shows for ASA Entertainment.
Yep.
With Micah Kranz was the announcer for it. And then I also did 3 weeks of those same shows in Southern California. And what I've realized is everyone has seen that clip.
Yeah.
And especially being here. So I've been out east here at Woodward Camp for about 3 weeks now. So I was here for half of week 1, all of week 2 and 3, and I'll be here for all of week 4, basically. And I am, I heard you're the dude that landed on the fence. Not, you're the dude that did the first double front flip, or you're the dude that did this or did that or whatever. I'm the guy that landed on the fence.
You're the virgin that landed on the fence.
I'm the virgin that landed on the fence.
Were you, I know I kind of asked you before, but we didn't get into details, and I'm going to hound you for them now. You were able to monetize that?
Yeah.
Like
totally.
crazy amounts or not?
The great thing about monetizing is those clips never go away.
Yeah.
Right.
But they have their heyday for the most part.
They do. They definitely have their heyday. But what I've learned from, and I've monetized a handful of clips over I don't know, 6 years or something like that.
Let's be realistic. People want to see you almost losing the old Johnson to a fence more than they want to see you do a moto whip.
Totally. Most definitely. People want to see bad things happen to other people for some reason. But yeah, it definitely has, like, if you do it right, it has its heyday.
Yeah.
And for me, as soon as like I landed on the fence and I was like, dude, like I knew that it was going to be one of those clips. So I took the time, licensed it, took like a week or whatever. And then I honestly didn't even know when it was going to go live. Like I was driving up to Woodward West.
So who posted it?
So what happens is, depending on what company you license things with, once everything's all signed and done and your, I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, they throw the clip into their like video database, basically.
Okay.
And, companies like Daily Mail, Unilad, ESPN, SportsCenter,
and they'll
whoever.
pay a fee, and this licensing agency will be the middleman.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And
do they take a big cut?
no, it's actually not bad. It's it's a 60-40 cut.
Okay.
So it's not terrible.
No, especially if they're getting you places that you wouldn't be getting otherwise.
Totally.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's great.
And from my experience, they're taking me like in huge places like that I wouldn't be able to get to,
Yep.
So they do a really great service for what you got going on. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Anyone can do it too. Like I honestly, over the last couple of weeks, for whatever reason, like Brian Kaczynski hit me up and Clay Brown hit me up, and they were like, wanted to know like how to do it. And anyone can just go, they can look it up, licensing footage or monetizing footage. And there's so many websites, they all pop up.
I mean, do you want to give a shout out to the one you work with?
I particularly license with a company called Jukin Media.
Juken?
IN. Jukin media.com. And yeah, that's where I've taken my clips in the past, and it's super easy. Like I said, it only took me a week to sign everything off.
I think it's important that people understand that there has to be something fucking crazy if it's going to go anywhere.
Totally. So what ended up happening was I contacted someone that I had been in contact with before on an email, and I was like, hey, I've got this crazy clip. I know you guys probably hear this all the time.
Yeah.
I was like, but this is for sure really nuts, and you guys got to see this and let me know if you want to work with me on it. And within like 30 minutes, I had an email back, and they're like, yes, we get this a lot, but we definitely are interested in like helping you with this clip. I'm like, all right, cool. So, you get everything done. And once everything's done, getting back to this, was they put it in their video database. And then companies, all those big companies that I mentioned earlier, they kind of browse it like a feed,
Yep. And
they come across them. And I was driving to Woodward West for something, and I kept getting all these like Facebook emails and like Instagram emails. I'm like, what is happening right now? Yo, is this you? Is this you? Like, and then I saw Mark Webb posted it. Like, who is this? Who front flipped onto the fence or whatever? And I'm like, holy crap, it's live. Like, I need to post something on my end now. So I'm like stopped my car because I didn't want to like drive and come up with a caption. Like I really needed to stop and
I've had the pull over and post something immediately numerous times. Yeah,
exactly. So I pulled over and I was like, oh, what do I say? I don't even know what to say. What is, I think I opened it up with, I don't really know how to explain this, but, but yeah, it was crazy. And yeah.
So about the trick itself. So you wanted to front flip over the fence, and I'll be honest, man, I've watched you ride a long time. You're more calculated than that. That was a big miss.
So I'll tell the story real quick.
Okay.
So I was filming for my Colony BMX edit, and I had been filming for probably over 2 years at this point. And I knew that I had, and this is last December, right? So I knew that I had 4 weeks of shows coming up in January or whatever. And I was like, listen, I just need to put a cap on this thing, an end date. Like I just need to be done with it. Right. And I told Nathan, I was like, I have like 3 things that I really want to do. And for this like kind of ender thing, and then we're done. And I said, if I can't accomplish them before this date, like I'll put it aside for another time.
That's the close off date regardless.
Exactly.
No, this isn't bendable.
Exactly. Yeah. So we ended up going to all the places that I wanted to go. And the front flip being one of them. And I showed Nathan 3 different lines. I was like, I have these 3 different lines. I'm not really sure which one's faster.
As far as getting speed.
Yeah. Okay. I said, I'm not really sure which one's faster because they're all so similar. And I was there back when the guys were filming for Market too, when Jeff Slats like 3'd over the fence.
Yep.
And I was looking at that line too. But the thing with fronties is you want to get like the most direct straight line at something.
Yeah.
It's not a good feeling like
trying
carving across something.
Yeah.
And for Jeff's line, like he was able to use all the bowl corners and really maximize speed and just fly over the fence.
Yeah.
Where I had to kind of find a straight line. So I showed Nathan the lines, Nathan Sykes, who was filming and editing and
is a hell of a bike rider.
Yes.
And a great guy.
Oh, so good. And he was like, I think it's this one. I was like, all right, I'm going to go with what you think. So I circled the bowl.
Did you jump the fence first?
No. So that's the thing. So I've never jumped the fence.
Yeah.
And I had no desire to actually jump the fence either.
Yeah.
But I knew that I took a couple test run flyouts. So I did basically these massive flyouts to tail tap. And I was like, okay, if my head goes over the top of the fence, so I do this flyout and I look over I look over my shoulder and if I see that my head's above the fence, then I know I'm good, because when I do front flips, that's my pivot point is my head. So if my head gets above something, I can get my body over it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did that a handful of times. I was like, okay, this is going to work. I still think if I could go back in that moment and change just the way that I did the fronty, that I would have went over the fence and pulled it fine. But what ended up happening was I went off the lip and I got more upward momentum than I wanted, that I needed to go forward in.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So instantly I knew, as soon as like I wasn't even completely upside down yet, and I had an idea that it was going to be underneath me.
Yeah. And you have done the trick long enough to where you knew, like,
exactly.
This is not
I
what
pretty much have eyes in the back of my head when it comes to front flips. Like I can visually see everything that's happening. I know when a landing's coming. I know I've been doing them for so long, you know?
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to be there. And it's funny, as soon as I came around and saw what I was working with, it was almost like time stood still and my brain connected everything so fast. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep doing. I'm just going to be in this moment. I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to let go of the bike. I'm just going to hang on. My legs are going to land like in between these posts.
So you actually were able to visualize landing between the posts. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the craziest part about this. I didn't know that.
I could see like the visual trajectory that I was still behind the fence.
Yes.
But my bike was going to go over the fence. So in that moment, it was, you blink and you're on the fence.
Yeah.
So I blinked and I was on the fence, and that was like, I was like, whoa, what happened? And that was the big argument. A lot of people still to this day think it's fake, but I thought that was funny. That was the big, it was fake. Yeah, that was the big argument, is they were like, oh, it's fake because he landed so soft on the fence. It's like, well, if you look at it, I'm literally only like a foot or less like above where I landed on the fence. So it's basically like, you know, falling a foot to the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's not violent.
Yeah.
It's 1 foot that you're falling to the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thought it was funny too. And, I saw somebody posted like a comment. It was like, oh, it's fake or whatever. And this is like the first day it happened. I hadn't talked to you beyond any more than being like, that was crazy. And my point was kind of like, I appreciate you guys thinking that we have this much money to fuck with.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I appreciate you thinking that for this viral clip, you're going to have a crane and green screens and, you know.
It's like, I've had some great success being a professional bike rider, but I still not enough success to afford Hollywood stunt technology.
Even then, it would kind of boil down to like, okay, why?
Why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why would I fake this? Why would I do that? You know?
And at that point, it's probably got to generate a lot more money than you did generate to pay for it.
Totally.
$100,000 production, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to give you a number more or less that you pocket from this. 10 grand.
Less.
Oh,
so far.
Really? Okay.
So far.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, it's one of those clips. It's going to be there forever,
you
right?
know, and I feel like clips like that have their heyday. I feel like that heyday comes around every couple years too.
It does.
Yeah.
And I've seen it with other clips too, and it's very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It's, you know, if you have like a handful of crazy clips, like those handful of crazy clips could make you a lot of money for like 10 years, you know?
You know, it's funny. When I was probably like 16 or 17, so a long time ago, I filmed this goofy clip, and it was like children at the skate park, and there's like a kid on a skateboard and like a kid in like a baseball uniform, like yelling at each other. And a kid was hitting another one with like a piece of a tree, or it was silly. And the kid threw a skateboard at him. And anyways, it ended up being on that show Tosh.0.
Right.
And many years later, obviously, you know, 6-7 years later. And it was one of those things where I was like, first off, that's funny. Second off, I didn't talk to anybody. And third off, by the time it got to them, I think it was stolen so many times.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't know. I don't necessarily think I should have been paid. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I guess like, man, like if you really think there's potential, we're in that day and age where if you do something badass, you might as well tag ownership to that. Because I guarantee had that popped up, if I went through an agency like you, which may not have even existed at the time, that they could be like, whoa. This is what this is worth. We own this, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the documentation.
I'll tell you what it's comparable to. It's almost like having like a year sponsorship at like $500 a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of like, it's funny. It has its good months and it has its bad months.
Yep.
So and I can like log in and check it out and see what it's doing and whatever, and kind of monetize it on my own end just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
But like some months, like, because they just drop cash into your account, like kind of as you get it, or like once a month kind of deal.
Yep.
And like some months I don't get any. And then some months I'm like, oh crap, where'd this come from? Why is this in my bank? Oh, that's what it is, you know?
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. And I guess the fact that you're still living is priceless.
Yeah.
That could have been ugly.
Could have been terrible.
Are you still thinking about getting it done? I know you told your wife you wouldn't.
Yeah. My wife is pretty adamant about me not doing that. But what's funny is the Costa Mesa Vulcan Park is literally right down the road from my house, and I honestly don't ride it as much as I really should be.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling at some point in life, like I will hit that streak of like being there a lot more and have better lines, or even just a better pump riding it more consistently.
Yeah.
So who knows? I'm definitely that dude that like, when I set out to do something, I want to do it.
You know, it's one of those things too, that this should never be a reason to do something, but the redemption story, there's another viral video right there, you know, like, oh man, I kind of want to buy a new car, but I don't want to pay for the new car. I'm going to go front flip the fence. But no, that's cool, man. That was a very, very, very strange, unexpected moment.
Yeah. You can tell me about it. I was very...
I think the most beautiful part about it was, I believe you said, what in the heck?
Yeah.
I think that is the least, like, that makes it almost seem fake that it's so calculated. Like, you're not using profanity or, like, you know, just like this can be on anything as it is.
Like I said, everything happens so fast, and in my mind works really quickly too. And I was literally on the verge of, you know, saying what the F, but then I changed it to heck. When I was literally, what the heck? And that's kind of why it sounded weird, because I was going to drop an F-bomb, but then in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, we're filming right now. And I was like, oh, wait, this might be like a crazy clip. And I don't know if that entails into it, you know, licensing it or not.
Like, it's funny because when situations like that happen to people, usually they're not a business-minded person that's come from this weird way of making a living right. to where like your brain's turning in ways that the average person isn't, you know, and it's totally kind of like the perfect storm of like, if it's going to happen to somebody, like, you know, it's anyways.
I appreciate that.
Pretty crazy. I'm happy you're alive. That was a close one. So we're in State College, Pennsylvania right now.
Yep.
At your younger, handsomer brother's house.
He's very handsome.
You lived here for a number of years, right?
Right, I did.
Grew up in Ohio.
Yeah, so I grew up...
What is that, like 4 hours from here?
It's about 3 hours from State College.
Okay.
Roughly 4 hours from Woodward Camp.
Okay.
But yeah, we grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. It's right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. And I never went to Woodward as a camper. Just couldn't afford it, you know?
Yeah.
And then... But Section 8 skate park was 15 minutes from my house. And I think at that time, there was a magazine article for like top 5 skate parks in the country.
Yeah.
And I think Section 8 was in there, number 3 or something. So it was, you know, Wessel built park.
Yeah.
Amazing skate park. And dude, we got pros anywhere from like the Maniac to Dave Mira. Yeah. Like, everyone wanted to ride the park.
Who were like the badass locals when you were younger?
Oh man, so
maybe the generation before you, like the guys that like you'd see there.
So the guys that kind of started it, Steve Luckett and Joe Cupp.
Yes,
they were. I think so. Steve Luckett rode Flatland and was like kind of getting into ramps at the time, and Joe Cupp was. I mean, they kind of all rode Flatland back then. Like it was. It wasn't like it was today. It was Catfish was one of those dudes too. Yeah. You know. I mean, so they were kind of all over the place, but, you know, Joe was really good. Steve was even Catfish was really great. You see the way he rides now.
He's got bike control.
Yeah. He's rode that way his whole life, mixing Flatland and ramps.
You mean he didn't learn decades at 41 years old?
But, this dude, Pat Sanders, was really good. Dude, he could do like mirror tricks, like bar spin, catch, land, suicide no-hander.
Oh, that's dope.
Like just do a suicide no-hander and just keep them off and land like that. And truck drivers. And he was like the dude that could do truck drivers, you know? And then Sal Wood, who actually moved, I think he lives in San Diego right now.
Okay.
But he was like of Spanish descent. I'm not really sure.
Sam Wood is like the most un-Spanish name possible.
Sal.
Oh, okay.
Sal Wood.
Yeah.
And, but he was like, I can't remember if he just tail whipped weird. I don't think he was goofy footed, but he kicked tail whips with his front foot. So he could do like all these cool, you know, 360 down whips. And,
yeah. That's probably when they were brand new.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Alistair was probably one of the only dudes doing them.
Alistair was the first guy I ever saw do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if he was the first to do it, but
yeah, me either. But
I guess nobody knows. But
yeah, regardless, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And man, there were so many. There was this dude, they called him Tweaker. I don't know why. Just, you know, they got
probably
nicknames.
because of methamphetamines.
Could have been.
Perhaps.
Who knows? No, he was a good dude though, but he had cool line choice, and the skate park was pretty.
What about
pretty
like Cuesta? Was he closer to like your age?
Yeah. So Cuesta and I were like best friends.
Okay. Is he older than you?
By a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I remember footage of him riding Section 8 back in the day. I remember the 360 to foot plan on the box shop when it's like, how does his leg still exist?
Dude, there are things that Cuesta did back then that dudes are only starting to like kind of pick up on doing now, you know? And I think that's amazing. Like Cuesta and I were riding buddies. Like before I had a license, he would like drive across a couple cities to come get me.
Is he from Youngstown also, or where is he from?
He's from, so Youngstown's kind of our general area.
Okay.
So Cuesta was kind of from Warren, which was like the next city going towards like Cleveland-ish area. But still pretty close. You know, everything from the skate park seemed like it was like 30 minutes away, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, Cuesta, he would come to my house, pick me up. We'd go to the skate park. He'd drop me off. He'd go back to where he lives. Or, you know, when I got my license, I would do the same for him kind of deal. But yeah, we were straight up riding buddies. Like we pushed each other and just kind of did our thing. And yeah, it was great.
Who else were the guys that were kind of coming up at that time in your area? Was that pretty much just you and Cuesta?
There were a lot of really good bike riders.
Okay.
Like really,
it seemed
really
like
good
Ohio
bike
was
riders.
like the hot spot.
Yeah, so many good bike riders. Yeah. I think it was just like who's gonna do it? Who's gonna break through?
So what made you break through? Do you think it was what made you different?
Well, oddly enough, Cuesta broke through before I did.
Yeah. But he never broke through to the level you broke through, and your breakthrough was fast.
Yeah. So, and again, I think that has a lot to do with Woodward Camp, which again, this is a big loop, but we'll circle back around to that. I don't know what it was that really separated us. There was a time where he and I didn't get to ride much anymore because he was doing a lot of stuff for DK, like shows and stuff like that. He rode for DK, and then I remember, I think it was actually Cuesta and I. We went to Doyle's house in Pittsburgh. And then we stayed at his house for the weekend, rode Section 22, which was the trails at the time. And I had broke my frame there. And Brendan Punjab was there. And he was like, dude, he's like, I want to get you a fly frame. And I'm like, cool. Like,
he rode for fly at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, cool. Like, you can get me a deal on it? Sick. Like, so I ended up getting a fly frame for like a good price. And then not long after that, a photographer by the name of Steve Buddendeck, they were doing he worked for DK at the time in System Cycle.
Yeah.
So they kind of did like all the photos and marketing for DK and the brands that were at System Cycle. And System Cycle was carrying Fly bikes that like Fly was pretty new still.
Yeah.
So
they were essentially introducing Fly to the United States. Exactly.
And with that, they were starting a flow team. So, they came on like a trip to Section 8 for whatever reason. And Steve and Corey Muth had already like knew who I was.
And Corey Muth was working with Buddendeck.
Right. Yeah. And then I met this dude, Matt Miller, who was like the Fly Bikes team manager for the US at the time. And after that, they put me on Fly in System Cycle. So I thought I was just
is that when Biz was on or was that before?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, Biz. Yeah. So they had like Punjab, Biz, and Sergio.
Okay.
And maybe one other. I can't remember.
Was KP on? Or was he later on?
I think he was later on, maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember. It's a little foggy.
I'm trying to look at the time frame in my head. But.
I just remember like myself and Tony Nyer were like the two American flow riders for a bit. And then Dylan Smith from Austin.
Yeah.
I think him and his brother were in the mix some point later on.
Yeah.
But
they were awesome, both those guys.
Yeah.
Super good riders, super cool guys.
Yeah. And honestly, I think what helped me break through into like kind of level by level into like the top pro contest scene was being in that riding scene in general, because there were so many people coming through doing stuff. And I remember like a long time ago too, like Alan Cook and a bunch of dudes from North Carolina came through. And I can't remember what issue of Faction magazine it was, but Alan did an interview about Local Exposure Tour, and he gives me credit to the creation of Local Exposure Tour because he came to Section 8 skate park and like specifically saw me riding, and he was like, dude, this is crazy. Who is this kid? How is he like doing the things he's doing on his bike?
Yeah. There
has to be like more kids out there in these scenes doing this.
So at the pinnacle of his pro career, Alan Cook as an adult man didn't realize there are good locals.
Well, I mean, you see, like, you know how BMX was back then though. Like it was like
The internet didn't exist as it does
there was
today,
no internet.
So word didn't travel like it did. Yeah,
exactly.
Like it does today.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of like the start of local exposure and all that. And getting back to like pros coming to the skate park, kind of what segued my life into Woodward, which definitely put me in the position to be able to compete with some of the top dudes.
Yeah.
Kevin Robinson came to the skate park with a couple guys. I think Bestwick was there. I think even Ali Witten was there too. And, you know, Kevin, he's a awesome dude, like super friendly. And I wasn't shy either. Like anytime pros would come to the park, I would go up and tell them my name and tell them, you know, how stoked I was that they were there. And I was just psyched to ride with like good people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so I did that to Kevin, and, at the end of the session, he like gave me his personal cell phone number, and he's like, call me anytime. He's like, I would love to like, have you ever been to Woodward Camp? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, I would love to get you to Woodward Camp. And I had to been 14 or 15.
Okay, so you're still quite young.
Yeah, gotcha. I couldn't drive there.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple more times that Kevin and those guys, they come to the skate park and I couldn't go because I didn't have a ride there.
Enough. Yeah,
I didn't have a ride, you know? But yeah, then Kevin and I became really good friends, and later on he got me on Hoffman bikes. But and through the Hoffman bikes deal, Target was a co-sponsor of Hoffman bikes, Target and Right Guard, and they were also Target was also a big sponsor of Woodward Camp. So after I had met Kathy McGrath, who was also the team manager for Target and later on team manager at Levi's, who you know Kathy as well, Kyle.
She's okay.
Yeah, she's the best. and she was like, hey, I have this job opportunity for you. Would you be interested in going to Woodward Camp for the summer? And this is so I graduated high school in 2004. And then right out of there, I went to college for a semester at Youngstown State University. And then,
what do they teach there? How to sell drugs?
Could be how to do mob dealings. And I was also, ever since I got my license, which was, I believe 15 and a half is Ohio state law then, I had a job too.
Yeah.
So
what were you doing?
I drove around like large stake body bed trucks filled with like heating and air conditioning stuff. So I worked for a heating and air conditioning company. I would basically drive products to the job sites, load anything scrap that needs to go back. It's kind of a long list of jobs, but mostly driving.
Yep.
And unloading.
Kind of funny
that
you just get your driver's license and your first job is driving.
Yeah, it was awesome. But I made really good money, and it was early. I would be up at like 5 a.m. working, and then I'd be off at like 3, and then I could go to the skate park and ride.
That's ideal.
Know? Yeah. So I was like, Kathy, I think I'm down if I could make, I think I was making like, what was it? $375 a week doing this driving gig or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like,
which at that age is fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, if I can make more than this, I'll go. And she just kind of chuckled. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, you know?
Yeah.
And
she was like, you wish.
Yeah. So going into summer camp of 2005, that was my, like, kind of my first time going to Woodward in the summer. I had been there, like, I went for a CFB one time, but I rolled my ankle and I couldn't compete the amateur contest. And then a buddy and I went to the X Games in Philly, and we saw Wessel there, and he was like, come back to Woodward for like the evening. So we went to Woodward like on the way back home and rode there. But I had never really had more than a day there to ride, you know? So I went there 2005, and then I lived at camp from 2005 till 2008. And then I bought a condo.
Well, just to be clear, that you moved out there for the Target thing.
I did, yes.
And did you stay with the Target thing, or did you just transition into, resident pro?
So I stayed with the Target thing for a couple years after that. I had actually, after the summer camp had ended, I was like, man, I don't want to go home. And Andy Alvarez was like the bike director at the time.
Yep.
It's like, man, I don't want to go home. I want to stay. Like, this is awesome. And he was like, well, ask, like, see if you could stay. Like, you could just work here in the winter. We do random stuff here. I'm like,
you know what's kind of funny? This is just a random random side note. Everybody has these stories that lived at Woodward, and they always have their connection, and they always say, "Oh, I want to stay," and their connection is always like, "Just ask."
Just ask.
And it's like, you're the connection. Ask on my behalf. Vouch for me. I just think that's funny. Anyways, go on.
Well, I think he did vouch for me. I think he kind of put it in their ear, like, "Yo, Anthony really wants to stay and like work." You know?
Yeah.
So, when I came to ask, they were like, "Okay, yeah, that's cool." So I ended up doing, like, they call it the Lost Boy program.
Yep.
So, we do random things, like they do weekend getaways in the winter. So it's like I'm cleaning ramps and doing all this random stuff, stuffing mail for like kids that are coming to summer the next year. But I did that and then resumed doing my Target gig at Woodward. So
during the summer you would do that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But in 2005, which was the first year Dew Tour, I entered Dew Tour.
And you'd been riding Woodward a lot, so you're starting to learn this shit.
Yeah. By then, I could do front flips, but I hadn't done them on many things. So I hadn't had like so much experience with them, but I could do them, every time. And so going in 2005, I entered the open qualifiers for Louisville, Kentucky, and Denver, Colorado, and got last place. Like, I didn't do good. Like, I remember in Denver, I was like, all right, I'm doing the fronty this time. And
were like Gutler or Diogo or anybody doing fronties then, or was nobody really doing them?
Yeah. So 2005, that was Gutler's big year.
Right. Yeah.
So he was doing fronties. I think Scotty was doing fronties in park.
I just mean
too.
For dirt, but
But there weren't many people. I think maybe Gutler and Bowen, maybe.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so got kind of dead last in the standings. I didn't even have enough points to go to like the third stop.
Yeah.
I was like just shy.
Now, did that break down your spirit at all, or were you kind of like, okay, more work? Like, how'd you take that?
Yeah, not at all. Actually, I wasn't bummed.
Yeah.
Like, I was really psyched that I got to go ride that event, and like sure, I didn't do good, but I was like just psyched that I got to go do it.
I see this today even with like the Feast series when these kids show up and everybody's the best rider at their park, the best rider in their town. A lot of these guys, the best rider in their country.
Right.
And they show up and they kind of get this welcome to reality trip. And I see guys take it one of two ways. Guys are either defeated and sad, or they're like, I'm excited that guys are this good.
Yeah.
I can get this much better, and I'll see you guys at the next stop. And it's like, I wasn't nearly as involved back then, but I'm guessing it was the exact same deal. I'm guessing guys would go and they'd either be defeated or they'd take motivation in the fact that guys are so good.
Yeah. And it was super motivating in a sense too, because we were all like, that summer we would like go to Bud's Barn and turn on the TV and watch like Dew Tour Dirt in park and everything else that happened there, and be like, man, that's cool. And I think in a sense I like learned what I needed to work on to take that next step into that style of contest.
What an amazing commodity to have. You're at Bud's Barn, you're watching, you need to learn this. And about 30 feet that way is lot 8 with the resi, with the foam.
Exactly.
And you're surrounded by guys that are at least somewhat near your level, to where you're riding with people that are also learning shit. You're not out there alone.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because even though like all the top pros were like competing, there were still dudes like at camp all year round that were like just as good as the top pros, but they weren't competing.
There is to this day, and always has been, just the Woodward guys.
Totally.
Maybe they don't have that competitive spirit. Maybe they just don't care. But there's always guys at Woodward that kill it, that you're like, you could win any contest, but they either can't or don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. But yeah, I was able to take kind of the knowledge that I learned from watching these runs and whatever. And that whole winter, like going into 2006, I just worked. I was like, why don't people do this trick? Or why don't, like, people weren't really doing 3 double whips in their runs, Was
that not part of Gutler's repertoire? No.
No.
720s and straight double whips.
Mike Laird was like 3 double whipping in park, but he was the only dude. And Darden could do them, but he never really did them all that often.
Okay.
From what I remember.
It was almost like a best trick contest.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like kind of when I was like, well, I'm going to learn these. Like, I can do double whips straight. Like, I should be able to do them in 3s,
Yeah, makes sense.
And I remember like going into 2006, I made it rode the open qualifier, like did well, made it to, then they do like the qualifier.
Yeah.
And then I think I got 7th or something.
So was it open qualifier, semifinals,
and
finals?
No.
Okay, so qualifier,
finals.
then finals.
Yep.
Okay.
So then I placed 7th, I believe, in the qualifier, which put me into finals.
So all of a sudden, you didn't make it in at all the prior year, and all of a sudden you're in finals.
And I'm in finals.
You're in there with Nyquist, Bowen, like the
exactly.
dudes. Yeah.
And I'm already psyched. Like at this point, I don't care what place I get. At this point, I'm just like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, and I think I had a pretty good run. Like I did my run to get in and my run that I laid down for finals, like I guess it would have been considered a safety run, but
like
I wasn't.
The run you plan on landing.
I wasn't in that mindset at that time for safety runs. I just wanted to do a run,
Yes.
So, but I believe it was like either front flip or front flip no-hander on the first one. I think there were 4 jumps, or maybe there were only 3. I can't remember, but 3 turn down and then double whip. And then I was like, did that run in finals. And I was like, okay, I'm going to step it up because why not? Like, this is fun. I was having so much fun.
Was it best run counted or what was it?
Yeah, it was best run count.
So if you could step it up.
Exactly. Then you're rewarded. So then I laid down like front flip no-hander I can't remember if I did 3 turn down or if I did double whip, but it was one of those 2 tricks into 3 double whip. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, tied for first place with Luke Parslow. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I couldn't even believe it, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing that determined the tiebreaker on that was whoever had the best other score.
Okay.
So, and I had it because I think Luke wrecked or something on his first run.
Yeah.
Because there were only 2 runs, best run counts.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, so
you ended up winning.
Yeah.
You went from not making it in the tour the previous year to winning.
Yeah. Exactly. And it went nuts.
And what was that, like 15 grand or
15
something?
15 grand.
Like,
I called my mom and I was like, I won. She's
I don't
like,
love you anymore.
She's like, congratulations. Like, what'd you get? And I was like, $15,000. She's like, what? and that's when it clicked for her too. She was like,
this is a real thing.
Yeah. She was like, okay, you just made like a lot of money.
Successful people work a long time to make this much money. Yeah.
And that whole year ended up being amazing. Like I got 2nd in Denver. I got 3rd in Portland. I got like 6th in San Jose.
Who was winning when you weren't? Was it Parslow? I know Parslow was.
I was winning the overall.
Yeah.
Almost the entire time. Who were the
other guys that were up there?
Parslow was really close to me. So I was winning the whole tour up until San Jose, which was the 4th stop. And I took 6th place then, and Parslow moved into the lead.
Okay.
Overall. And then that was like, I got really competitive at that point. And I went to Florida. That was the final stop. And I was like, I'm doing this. It was like first day of practice, did everything I wanted to do. And then I got super sick. And I laid in bed for like the next day. And I was like, done. And I was like, I don't know. I just slept it off, I guess. And I got up the next day, went to practice. Didn't even take any practice runs. I rolled in once, did the run that I wanted to do, and then I went back to the hotel and slept more.
Yeah.
And then when it was time for finals, dude, I did it. And I was like,
do you think the sickness was possibly stress induced if you're talking about I went there to win? Or do you think it was just a bad timing?
I don't know. Yeah. It kind of felt like the flu or some kind of sinus thing. I don't know. I got bit by something really gnarly too.
One thing that can get you too is
Florida in general, yeah. Dude, and I got bit by something gnarly. Like if you find old photos of it, I have this like massive bug bite on my neck. So I don't know if I got bit by something weird and it just made me super sick or or if it was just whatever, but I don't know. It came together and
then you won the overall.
Then I won the overall.
And you won 75 grand.
Yeah, 75 grand on top of the 15 grand from winning that stop.
Plus, I'm guessing you had some sponsor bonuses at the time.
At the time, I didn't. I didn't have any sponsors really besides Hoffman Bikes. And in that deal, it was funny the way that worked out was when I did well at that first Dew Tour stop, like Steve Swope called me and he was like, hey.
Who worked at Hoffman, correct?
Yeah. But also at the time too, I think Steve saw something in me before all that.
Yeah.
And Steve was my manager too. So he worked at IMG
so that sounds
in
like
LA.
A huge conflict of interest.
Could have been,
No,
but it wasn't. But it wasn't.
And I'd like to take a quick sidebar to mention what a great guy Steve Swope is. he's what a great guy. Anyways, go on.
But it wasn't. So even before the Target stuff, I think in 2005 he said he wanted to start managing me, and I was like, cool, this is awesome, whatever, And I didn't even know what that meant, I was like, awesome, cool. And
do I have to do anything?
Right.
No. Perfect.
And then I won that first stop, and he was like, I remember I was back at Woodward, and I was like working on the dirt jumps there, and he was like, hey, so I want to try and help you out with stuff for Hoffman Bikes, because at the time I wasn't getting paid from him.
Yeah, it was basically a bike
deal.
He
was like, we want to, make sure your travel's taken care of, and we're going to pay you like this much a month or whatever. He's like, I know. He's like, he said, I know it doesn't seem like much. I mean, I think it was like a $500 a month deal.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what that meant either, because like the next year after like I got a real deal from like Target and Hoffman and Right Guard, I was like, oh.
So it was like 500 to like $3,000 or something.
Yeah. It was it was a significant amount more.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, sick, you're my agent. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Do what you do. But I mean, Steve helped out so much. And
is he still your manager? Does he manage it all anymore?
He doesn't.
Okay. That's right, because he has the big job at Woodward. And
he's still working at Woodward and like Powder Corp and all that.
Yep.
But yeah, I still talk to Steve and stuff. And
I got to hang out with him in Mexico. Woodward, Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that's a dude I like a lot. And Steve's awesome. And I don't see or talk to him enough, but
I like telling people that he invented. I always tell like random people if Steve's around, I'm like, hey, do you do double peg grinds? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, go thank that guy for inventing it.
You should be thanking him for the hundreds of thousands of dollars instead.
Yeah. I do.
So you have this kick-ass year. Hey, so you win 2006.
Yep.
So Gutler won everything in 05. Did he just have a shit 2006?
I remember he started his 06 off pretty bad.
Okay.
He was riding the qualifier for dirt, and he was doing over like mid-sec, or maybe it was the last jump or the second to last jump, but he did a tail whip to catch Superman C-Grab Indian Air, which I thought was so cool.
It still is to this day. Yeah. You hardly see that, and that's amazing. Yeah.
And slipped his hand and just straight to his face, and that was it. He was done.
Yeah.
And then I think it just kind of spiraled at that point. But I mean, he did win San Jose that year in dirt, I think.
Is that the year he got knocked out and then rode it?
No,
won?
that was
the previous year. Okay.
Yeah.
So moving forward, so you win 2006. Mm-hmm. 2007, how'd you do? Is 2006 when you got X Games bronze as well?
Yeah. I got a bronze in dirt at X Games.
So it was basically just an incredible year for you.
Yeah, it was great. And I rode elevation. I think I got like 5th there or something. And
how much cooler is just riding elevation than winning shit? Elevation is just
was fun.
Yeah.
It was like at that time that was the closest thing you could do to like fly, That was the closest you could be to flying.
I remember there's a photo of me and you there for some reason. I don't remember. I don't know why I remember this. I remember a photo of me and you I saw one day.
I think you were throwing up a gang sign in it.
That's possible. Yeah. I used to have some weird connections when I grew up and was like, wait a second.
Yeah,
you're a white kid from an upper middle class family in the suburbs. But anyways, so it moves on and that just kind of kickstarts everything.
Yeah, that's when things really started moving. Different sponsorship. After 06, a bunch of different sponsorship deals came in. I think I rode for Amp Energy in 07. The Target and the Right Guard stuff was really solid. I mean, even in 2005, I've rode for Maxxis tires forever.
That's awesome.
Like I started working with them in 2004, and then I started actually riding for them in 05, and then still to this day. So. And
you're the guy.
I love it. I love their tires. I love everything about it.
We've
had a great relationship.
One of those perfect situations where it's like, I hope you don't drop me because I'd still ride the tires.
Yeah, dude, and it's funny. It's same with POC helmets. So they got out of BMX a couple years ago.
Yeah,
and
fuck you, POC.
And I was
that's from me, not Anthony. But if you're out of BMX, go fuck yourselves. Anyways, Anthony, as you were.
Oh yeah,
We're drinking whiskey.
our drink of choice. And
Do you still ride that helmet though?
yeah, I still ride a pocket. They, hands down, they're like the best helmet technology you get on a BMX bike, without a doubt. Unless you're riding like a straight up motocross full face, you know what I mean?
Have you ever looked into that brand Cali?
Yeah, Nick Bruce rides for them, right?
Yeah, I had like a sit down with, I don't know, I think he's the owner. And the guy really impressed me.
So
I left leaving being like, I love this brand.
So I had a pretty long talk with Nick about Cali, because right around the time I was like the team manager for Torque, and I got him signed on to Torque and all that stuff. And
you don't have to admit to that.
No, it was great. I learned so much from that. I love it. Anything that I do has like a positive learning effect, whether it was like a bad relationship or a good relationship or whatever. Like I try and take all that in like a positive learning experience, you know? And right around that time, that's when POC stopped. And I was asking Nick, I was like, well, how do you like your helmet sponsor? Like what, you know, tell me about it, whatever. So he connected us, but then, nothing ever happened. I sent them like an unfathomable amount of information so that they could just see like what I was all about.
Oh, I just mean like is the quality of the helmet. You know, like have you looked at their, I honestly don't know from your perspective.
During that time I did. Yeah. But I still run the POC stuff.
Yeah. That's one brand. They impressed me when I actually had a conversation with the guy.
Yeah. That's great. That's good though. That's great. And at least someone's doing it, because I know there's a lot of companies out there that are like
slap a logo on there and charge some money.
Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, these are people's lives, you know?
Hold on. How'd we get to this? So
I don't know.
You were doing good. You won some shit. Let's move forward to the Dreamline events.
Okay.
I mean, those were badass. Obviously, Elevation was incredible. It lasted 3 years.
Yep.
Was it 2 in Canada and 1 in Mexico? Elevation? Or was it 3 in Canada? It was 2 in Canada.
Man, I don't know.
Anyways, okay, so we fast forward. Elevation's done.
I think there were 3 in Canada, because I missed the first one, and then I went there for 2 more, and then there was 1 in Mexico.
Okay, I only went to the last one in Canada.
Okay.
So then there's kind of this drought in badass dirt events, and you and Aloise and I don't know who else was involved, but primarily you and Aloise kind of brainstormed this beast. Right.
So, I'm trying to remember when I signed to Red Bull. Was it 2008 or? I think I got signed to Red Bull in either 08 or 09. I really can't remember, to be honest, but it was probably 2008. But my athlete manager at the time, his name is Luke Seal. And Luke and I are still really great friends, and we've done a lot of cool projects together. But Luke and Ryan Runke are like the 2 dudes that really helped get Dreamline lifted off the ground.
And at the time, they were both Red Bull employees?
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, we got kind of sneaky with it. So at the time, Red Bull was putting a lot of funds towards what they like to call athlete projects.
Yes.
So, we see him today.
Would be like Fernango ride in the...
totally. Yeah. Or Chris Kyle in the Kaleidoscope and that whole thing. So, I basically had to put... If you watch like the very first Dreamline video, I have these like cheesy lines where I'm like, I just wanted a place where I could come and escape with my friends and like train. So I use words like train for contest seasons.
Were you thinking contest all along?
The whole time we were thinking contest. Because that was my thing. I was like, I want to do a big dirt contest. Like Elevation's gone. And they tried to do like this one dirt contest in Chicago, and it was just super crappy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know exactly what needs to be done, and I want to do it. And we had to spin it off as like an athlete project. So I had to say all these funny things that I normally wouldn't say, like, I just want to escape so I could train for the season ahead of me, and like all this funny stuff. But really,
I'm an athlete. This is my project.
Yeah, but really, so I did the project, and we got some of the bigger, like higher up dudes at Red Bull to come out and check it out. And we knew as soon as like they saw it that they wouldn't have any reason not to do a contest on it.
$50,000. I guess for Red Bull, that's like, me buying nothing because they have a lot of money.
Well, they saw what we created. I mean, and if you haven't seen the first Dreamline, like go check it out. There's YouTube stuff somewhere.
Minnesota?
Yeah. Wabasha, Minnesota, where Grumpy Old Men was filmed. Well, it probably wasn't actually filmed there, but it was based there.
Yeah.
But so basically they came out, checked it out, and they were like, we have to do an event here. Like, we would be stupid not to do an event here. So that's what we did. We did an event. We had like an invite list for it, but it's always been like an unspoken thing that you can kind of show up and ride. And if there was always spots open, like dudes, we never replaced a spot with someone who couldn't come. So if someone that was invited couldn't come because they were hurt, like we never filled that spot with someone else. We just left it open because we knew that people were going to come. So with that said, I think there had to have been 5 or 6 spots that year, and dudes show up and they prove themselves and they pretty much get invited the next year and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that was like kind of the cool thing about it. Like Dreamline 1 was by far, hands down, the best out of all 3 Dreamlines.
Okay.
So it was the last one we did was 2014. Then we did one in 2013. We skipped 2012. So 2011 was the first one.
So was it were the first 2 Minnesota?
No. So it went Minnesota.
Okay.
And then the second Dreamline was in New Mexico.
Oh, that's right. And the last one was North Carolina. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking New Mexico was the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go, but my dog died.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah.
I don't think it was your fault, though.
No, I don't think so either. But New Mexico was by far, like, on a like jump size scale, was the biggest jumps out of all of them.
That was such a crazy
and
event.
I didn't even get to ride that one because I had a broken wrist at the time.
Did you compete in the other ones, or did you just hang out and cruise?
So I did not compete in the first one.
Okay. Because
I had like the upper hand because I had rode it for all the months.
That's always a weird
leading
gray
up to
area.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't compete in that one, but I rode. It was a jam. It wasn't like we were calling names. Like I was in the mix a little bit here and there, take a couple runs, like watch everyone else kind of do their thing. They wanted me to ride the second one, and I was like pretty against it because it's my event, you know? Like I didn't want to ride my own event.
I definitely see both sides.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're our guy. We put money behind you. You're a competitor.
Exactly.
This is perfect. But I get it. But
and I see that side.
It's a weird one because it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Exactly.
If you go there and you kick ass, then you're the guy that
won his own contest.
Inappropriate amount. You're the Ricardo Laguna of Dreamline.
Yeah.
And then if you don't, if you do bad, then you're the guy that rode it way more than everybody else and sucked.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I, not lucky enough, but I had a wrist injury and I wasn't able to ride regardless. And then the last one in 2014, which is crazy, it was 4 years ago. They were like, you got to ride this one. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, and at that point, I already knew that I wasn't going to ride for Red Bull after that.
Okay.
So I was like, that's fine. I'll ride it. It's whatever, you know? And it's funny because like Daryl Naw announced the event. I did my runs. Like I didn't push myself at all.
Totally.
Like I wanted to do good, but I didn't. You
wanted to make everybody happy, but you didn't want to.
It was still weird.
You didn't want to be the jockey.
I didn't want to.
You didn't want to be Ricardo Laguna.
Yeah, exactly. It was still weird. So
on your worst day, you couldn't be Ricardo Laguna.
But then the beautiful thing about Dreamline is, everyone does the event or whatever. In the last Dreamline was so structured. I hated it. Like by the time NBC got into it through Signature Series, like the whole contest lost the plot.
Yeah.
Like the dream that we had and created at the first one was so far dead by then. It was just as annoying as going to any other contest that you weren't stoked on, you know? But it was funny, like everyone always rides after the event, and that is the best session. Yeah. Always, hands down. So I was having so much fun. I was riding during the session. Daryl Naw comes up to me. He's like, dude, why do you do that in your runs? Like, where you been all day? I'm like, nah, I've been here. Just,
it's different. Just
trying not to be weird.
Yeah. What ended up happening with Red Bull? They don't traditionally let people go. I mean, I guess in more recent times they have let a few guys go, but I mean, I guess that has the same question about Corey Martinez too. They just let Martinez go. Corey Martinez is riding better than he's ridden his entire life.
Yeah.
What happened with you?
The weird thing about it is I went in for a meeting for basically, I knew my contract was coming up.
Yeah.
It was about to be expired. So I went in for a meeting in August, I think. And just to talk about it. So we sat down like in a meeting room and shot the shit for a bit. And I was like, all right, so, contract's coming up soon. Just want to see like kind of where we're at, what we're doing, And at this time, like I've had 3 successful Dreamline events.
Yep.
Done pretty well at a contests in general, we were doing that was our first season of our web series, which was pretty successful.
Ratitudes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was pretty successful web series. And then on top of that, I was probably one of the small group of athletes that was taking advantage of a lot of the programs that they were putting a ton of money into. Like high performance, stuff like that. I would go up to the office.
You're talking about like training stuff.
Yeah, I would go up to the office a couple times a week to talk with nutritionists and all this and all that. Cause they put money into that. Obviously they want to see athletes take advantage of it and be serious about it, you know?
And it seems like something they could spin into coverage as well. You could make content out of that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I was doing a lot of stuff with Dreamline too. Like in the office, I'd sit down with so many people a day.
So, okay, we get it. You think you're great.
No, but I was holding my own, I was juggling a lot of different positions.
You
at
felt
the time.
that you were upholding your part of the obligation.
Totally.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, they were like, yeah, you're crushing it. You're doing everything great. But they never came back and like really told me why and like why they didn't want to re-sign me. And I think, after that, I was like obviously bummed. Like I put a lot of my heart and soul into the things that I did at that company,
To be fair, that had to be your bread and butter.
I had a handful of bread and butters at the time, actually.
But that was probably, I'd imagine that was your biggest.
It was the biggest.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I couldn't live anymore. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, so they just said that they weren't going to re-sign the contract. They didn't really give me a reason why. But I kind of pieced a couple things together. Dude, people were leaving the company.
Yep.
People were getting fired. Like the brand was changing.
Yeah. Like
dramatically. A lot of the people, when I first started at Red Bull, all the people that worked
and first and foremost, it's crazy to talk about this. When I first signed with Red Bull, you were on like what, 3, 4 years, 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that long,
So when I first signed with them, a lot of the people that were the athlete managers, people that worked in the office, those were the people, they had passion for something. Mm-hmm. Skydiving, skiing, snowboarding, bikes, skating, whatever it was.
Something that wasn't an energy drink.
Exactly. They all had passion. They like that was the great thing that Red Bull always had working in their favor was the people in the office could completely relate with the people that they're paying to be their athletes, And at that point, those people were disappearing. Yeah. Because the company was changing so much. And I think that had like a huge thing to do with it too. Yeah. Amongst many other things. But for me, honestly, it was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Yeah. So right after that meeting, I got in my car, drove from Santa Monica to Menifee, where like FOD trails are. Yep. And I had
this is a meeting where they said we're not re-signing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I drove to FOD, and I had to shoot a commercial spot for Dreamline.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
The same day.
Yeah.
And I was a little flustered because I honestly wasn't expecting it because
you were going to do work for him that day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it definitely caught me off guard, but something changed in that car ride, and dude, I got to FOD and I had the best session that I had in years on my bike.
And that's what, hour and a half drive?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the best session, and from that point on, I really feel like I started to like almost reinvent myself a little bit. Like I was able to turn. So at the time too, I was only getting X Games invites for Mega Ramp, but my passion was obviously dirt.
Yeah.
And the next year, like started doing like, I don't know if you remember on Instagram, I was doing Slow Motion Monday and stuff like that.
Hated it.
I know you probably just don't like jaw roll, but
I don't.
No, I was just like doing those, and just doing those alone was getting me a lot of traction. It was really crazy. Like I think on Instagram, I had a small following, like 10,000 people following me at that time, maybe less or maybe a little more. I don't know. And then the year I did that, I almost like doubled my following. And I think because more people were just like psyched on the stuff I was posting and the way I was riding, you know? And
there's something to people liking consistency too. Every Monday, this guy's going to drop something sick.
Right. Yeah.
Every Tuesday, the dopest podcast comes out.
Exactly. Yep. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. And, yeah, man, some switch went up like in my, in my head, in my body.
I've never heard you verbalize this, but I've seen it. And I can tell.
Oh, yeah?
I can tell. Yeah, I mean, there's times like I remember maybe it was a year or two ago. It was really sincere. And I texted you and I was like when the Nora Cup guys came out or something like that. And I was like, I was thinking about dirt this year and I think you're the guy. Maybe was it 2 years? Do you remember when I texted you that?
I do. I remember
it was maybe like
this,
2 years ago and it was like completely like sincere. I was just thinking, I was like, and this is like, from my perspective, from the media perspective, you were Mr. I'm winning all these contests.
Yeah.
Then the Dreamline stuff happens and you're almost, at least on my end, kind of looked at as like a little bit behind the scenes. You're putting on the dopest events. When you go film shit, you're mostly just kind of flowing. You're not really doing the shit you're known for, the crazy big stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, you're digging at wetlands. You're putting out a ton of content from there. Dirt's kind of, when I say dirt, I mean like, dirt that gets mainstream exposure within BMX,
right, yeah.
Which obviously dirt is always alive and well, but so much of that is not seen.
Yeah.
But as far as what's seen and what is representing dirt to the people following BMX, I feel like maybe this was 2015 or 16, but it was like, no, like I think you would be the guy. I obviously don't vote for Nora Cup, but like, and I don't think, were you nominated or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think so either because I remember thinking
I don't think I was.
Even,
I'm pretty sure I've only been nominated for Nora once and it was like that 06 year.
Okay. It's just that even if I'm not voting, the whole fantasy of like, well, who's my guy for this? Who's my guy for this?
Totally.
Like, for dirt.
Totally.
Yeah. I think
and that's another thing too, like right around
and just, finishing my thought because before I lose my train of thought here. That's, from me thinking of you as kind of like, oh, Anthony's kind of doing the behind the scenes thing. He's kind of doing these events and stuff to being like, no, I think you'd probably the guy I'd pick for Dirt Guy this year. Like that's right when you're saying there's this change in your head.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So it walks hand in hand. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's hearing you verbalize that. Like,
yeah. And it was a great change. I was honestly like kind of finding my place in California too. So I went from, living in central PA and kind of Alois and I had built like these trails out on the backside of camp. They're still there, but they don't run because no one, puts work in and take care of them.
Not your problem.
And, not my problem right now. But, I went from going from here where I could kind of ride whatever I want, whenever I want, to, okay, I have to ride and I can't like go find a random resi to like do all these big tricks on in California. I just got to find a place that I enjoy riding, and that's kind of like right around when I started digging at wetlands because they were basically like an abandoned set of trails that like people would go and just like broom dirt up every once in a while and go through a couple times.
You could make it work half-assed.
So the first time I went there, Victor Salazar and Ryan Gutler had been putting in a little bit of work there, and they got them running really good. And I went there and rode with like a bunch of people that I had I've seen around, but I never really met before, or like kind of had a session with or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, these trails have like a lot of potential, like so much potential, And I was like, all they need is like kind of a crew. And that was the kind of thing that like tripped me out about California a little bit is the trail scenes are so different,
Yeah.
And now it's kind of changing. I feel like when we took over wetlands and started doing what we were doing, a lot of other trail spots started to see and they're like, oh, we just need like a group of homies. And
like what?
Like, so in say for Pennsylvania, for example.
No, I mean in California. Or is that what you're saying? You're saying trail spots in general, or are you saying other trail spots in California?
Oh, I'm saying like nowadays, I see more trail spots coming together as like a group of people and like really making their trails super nice and better and progressing as to where I think a lot of California dirt stuff was just, unless you had a private property, like, you know, Parslow or Heath Pinner.
Unless if you're not worrying about when are they going to come destroy it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And people are just really coming together now and like making trail spots awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think that whole experience with the Red Bull and finding my place in California and that switch that we talked about going off, like, you know, in my head or whatever, like I was really, really enjoying BMX, like kind of once I got done with the Red Bull stuff.
Is there a time the stress was outnumbering the enjoyment?
When I was on Red Bull?
No, in general. I mean, the way you say, like I was really enjoying BMX.
No, there totally was. There was. That was really like, I think where I broke down and sold everything in Pennsylvania and moved to California.
Yeah.
Like Ronnie had started filming his market video part.
Yep.
And it was like myself, Brandon Dosh, Seth Klinger, and Ronnie living in my house in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And Ronnie moved to San Diego to film. And I had like almost like a life realization of, I don't have to be stuck in Central PA. Like I can put a little bit of work in and like go on a new venture kind of thing. Yeah. And that was kind of what I did. And I think I was super burnt out, like being in Central PA for a really long time. And I think that reflected on the way I rode, the way I competed, probably the way I carried myself too.
BMX is such a mirror for your life.
Yeah,
when shit's really going good, shit's going good. When shit's not going good, shit's not going good. There's very, very rarely a time when you're like, my life was in shambles, and here's the best video part I've ever put out.
Yeah, exactly. And I was hurt a lot too then as well. I had like a reoccurring ankle thing that was it was basically just a bunch of what are those? Bone spurs. Yeah. I had a ton of bone spurs in my ankle, and at the time I was like, oh, there's no way to like kind of fix that, you know? But when I went to California, I got them removed at this place called Disc in Marina Del Rey. And it was like a new me as well. That was like just before, that was 2 years before like the Red Bull contract ended. Okay. So I got my ankle fixed and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Like, cause it was to a point where if I slipped a pedal and like touched the floor, I'd be done for the rest of the week.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it was like, I had to pick and choose my battles. I was like going to contests and only doing those tricks at the contest.
And that's not okay because it's 2018 and medical technology is in a place where like, if you got something screwed up, man, get that fixed, especially if you do something physical for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we don't have the time, you know, to waste. And that's essentially wasted time.
Yeah. And that was a big turning point too. I got my ankle fixed and dude, I was stoked. I was like on a roll, riding good, like getting that confidence back, doing things out that weren't like out of the realm of what I could do, but I was coming out of my shell a little bit more to attempt them, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And then that was like 2012. And then going into 2013, everyone went to China for like Asian X Games. And I love the SMP park there. Just that massive cement park.
Sex, money, power.
Yep. And, and I was just ripping lines.
I've never been there.
Oh dude, it is so cool.
I've been to China a handful of times, but I'd love to go there.
It's unreal. It's, you can't go fast enough. But you're going so fast.
Let me know when. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I'd love to go do something there.
Podcast will pick up the tab or what?
I'll give you $50 and pay my own way.
Sick. I'll take 50.
Get a certain hot dog company or somebody to pay. We'll brand it with their shit.
See if Wiener Schnitzel wants to do a trip there.
They'd be like, we're only in California and Nevada. Shout out to Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm waiting for you to get me on.
The team?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Like, if
you need to come to the trails one day.
We'll
go after
Anthony Napolitan, Andy Buckworth, Kyle Carlson. Which one screams Wiener Schnitzel?
Kyle.
You're goddamn right. It does. Okay, what were we talking about again? You were all like,
having awesome sessions, and I remember I was with Zach Warden. It was the last day we were in China, and I was riding like the big full pipe really well. Like Morgan and I were like doing trains into it, just looping the whole thing, you know. And it's like a 22-foot diameter full pipe.
It's a cradle.
Yeah. No, it's a full pipe. Like, I mean, there's a cradle in the back.
So you were looping the full pipe?
Yeah, but it's so long, like that you can loop the full pipe before the cradle.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it's sick. And we were having so much fun. And Zach's like, oh, you should try this line. There's like a little doorway in there. He's like, you should try this line through the doorway and loop the cradle the other way. And I was like, yeah, that's sick. That's a good idea. So I went to do it and I got too far on the oververt and I popped off and just nosedive at like 100 miles an hour into the cement and broke my wrist really bad.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that was fun. So it dislocated. I broke the capitate and scaphoid, which scaphoid's like the bad one that everyone breaks kind of deal.
Yep.
And the capitate is just as bad. It's like in the middle of your wrist. It's basically what your wrist pivots on.
Okay.
And when it dislocated, that capitate, which was fully broken in half, one of the bones flipped upside down too in the joint. So it was like backwards.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
In the worst country to have that happen.
Yep.
Probably not the worst, but not far from home.
So I went to a Chinese hospital and they literally strapped I'm sitting on a bench and the white wall that my back's against has like blood spatter on it. And they have my arm up at like a 90-degree angle from my torso, and they strap me into the wall so that they could put my wrist back in because it won't go back in. And then after like 10 minutes of tugging on it, finally goes back in. I go back to the States.
Were you just
the next day.
Agony, just like...
I was like toughing it out for most of the time, and then like April Mays from Hoffman Bikes and HSA was there with me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And we had like the Chinese translator there too.
Oh, so it was best case scenario for a terrible situation.
But the ride to the emergency room, this dude, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he's actually not from China. He's from another country, like in Europe, I believe. And he gave me a ride on his scooter. Like there, I gave Zach Warder my bike. He took it back to the hotel in a taxi, and then April met me at the thing. But yeah, she saw that I just went pale white at one point. On
the scooter ride or
when I was strapped into the wall. Okay. And she was like, oh, you got to get him something now, you know? So they shot me of something really quick and it took like that edge off or whatever. But yeah, that was nuts. Another crazy story in China.
What a mess, man. Every time you go to China, there's one or another. If anybody listening to this hasn't been to China,
please go there.
You got to go.
Please
you got to
go.
That's what I'm saying, where it's like, I hate China, but I
love it.
But I was just trying to get you to go back.
It's like the best. It's one of the best countries. People always ask me like, "Oh, what are your top 3 countries?" And I'm like,
China.
China's definitely in there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's not. I don't like it that much, but I love.
It's top 3 for sure. I don't know where at. Like New Zealand is great.
Dude, I got
New Zealand.
I got a buddy. You might have met him somewhere along the lines, but he's my buddy that got me into riding BMX, but he only rode BMX for a short time. Mm-hmm. And I can say this story because I can't imagine any way, shape, or form he'd listen to this. But he actually was a virgin. And he's my age, a little bit younger than me. And like a few months back, started dating this chick, and his life changed. And she's from China and not an American citizen. And he texted me today and is like, "We're getting married in a week. Will you be here?"
Will you be here in China?
Vegas. Okay? Yeah. But I'm like, man.
I was like, let's go. It's wedding season.
Dude, yeah. I was like, I already told him because he was talking about getting married. I'm like, well, you haven't known her that long, and sex with a lot of chicks is cool. But
insane.
But you know what I mean? I'm like, so I might be going to China for a wedding and whatever.
Well, that would be cool.
I don't know. I guess that's what's going on in my life right now. So I'm just talking about it.
Go to SMP.
She's not from Shanghai. She's from... Yeah, the thing with China too.
Yeah, it's so big.
That would be like, I'm going to the United States. Like, oh man, you should check out South America. You should check out Santiago, Chile. Like, what? Okay, look.
I don't even know. We got so off course on that one.
No, but the issue I'm dealing with right now is this is already the longest thing I've ever done, and I had more shit to talk about. So I think we might just have to do this again sometime.
Or we could just talk about it and you cut all the useless shit out that we talked about.
I'm not going to do that kind of editing, man.
Well, what else? Okay, we take.
Well, the other big thing on my that I wanted to talk about was you went and learned the double front flip.
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn that in the foam and resi at Woodward, the foam at Woodward, and then brought it to the mega ramp, or what?
Okay, so the story behind this, I'll try and keep it shorter so we're not rambling. Okay. Right in 2006, and when I started riding bigger style contest jumps and doing front flips, compared to doing them on like a box slip, I was like, dude, I have so much time on a dirt jump. It's crazy. I'm opened up the whole time. Like I'm barely rotating. Like it looks like I just start my rotation with my eyeballs only, you know? And I was like, I want to learn double fronts. And I believe it was in 2006, a guy by the name of Keith McElhaney. He's the first dude to do a front flare on a BMX bike.
I believe he called it the lawn dart.
Yeah, the lawn dart. Yeah, exactly. He was like one of the dudes that we would just like ride a foam pit for a couple hours and just huck random front flip stuff into, because he understood it like almost better than I did at the time, you know? Yeah. And I was like, Keith, I want to do double front flip. I think I have plenty of time. But I want to build like this 8 foot tall elliptical transition, like to kind of mimic a dirt jump. Yeah. So elliptical, if you guys don't know, like if you trace out like a regular quarter pipe transition, you're using like a set, like say like a 7 foot transition, you're using like a 7 foot long piece of 2x4 to trace the template, right? So elliptical is when you take that same thing, but then at the last minute you wrap a smaller transition to it. So a smaller distance. So it makes it like smooth to like tight, or like open to tight, or tight to open, whatever you want to do with it. You kind of flip it.
Is this like the ramp, like the Pastrana's double flip ramp?
Yeah, those ramps are crazy. Those have like probably 4 different elliptical
I think, don't they have one that like moves when you hit it? Like,
yeah.
Has like, okay, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, so a lot of that stuff is elliptical, but I knew like, you know, dirt jumps aren't perfect. They're elliptical for sure.
Yeah.
So we built this big elliptical transition with like scrap wood that Woodward had laying around.
You and Keith McElhaney did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I started trying double fronts in Lot 8, which was like the only kind of, they had a foam pit in Cloud 9, but it was like not very good. It was like not very long, not wide. It was just like a little sketchy. It was kind of like a boring setup, and
as opposed to an unboring foam pit, an action-packed foam pit.
Yeah, exactly. But I started trying them, and I could only get like 1.5 around because the ceiling was actually too low. Like any time that I would full on try it, I would hit my bike like on the ceiling.
Yep.
So I was like, man, I don't want to like hit my bike and bars hit me in the face or something.
So you were building this lip and trying to put it somewhere else, or
no? So I built it for that,
for Lot 8.
For Lot 8, okay. Yeah. And I could only basically half-ass try it, which sucked. So it was like a complete waste of time almost, basically building the lip. So a couple years later, maybe it was even less than that. Maybe it was a year later. It was probably 2 years later. Ryan Gutler and a handful of dudes came up from Greenville, and we had actually revamped the Cloud 9 foam pit. So it went from being a 5 foot lip to a 6 foot lip, and that foam pit's like a mile long. Yeah. It's super long.
Yeah.
And they had a roll in at the time. So we were just rolling in, and we were pedaling as fast as we could, and we were just launching, like trying to hit the back of the wall, like just trying to see how big a 360s. We were just having fun.
It was no longer a boring foam pit.
Exactly. We were just going as fast as we could, and we were launching into the pit. And at some point in that session, I was like, oh, I'm going to try a double front. Like, I haven't tried one in forever. Like,
you kind of wrote it off after that first time, didn't you?
Yeah. Okay. And I do this with a lot of tricks. Like, I'll try something, and if it's not working, like working out for me, I'll put it on the back burner for an extended period of time.
It still exists in your brain, but it's not at the front part.
And I'll come back to it, you know? And so I came back to it, and I was like, I'm going to try one. I tried it, and I came around like almost like it was right there. It's in sight.
Like the first one you sent.
Yeah.
Like half jokingly.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it came around like pretty good. And I was like, whoa. So for the rest of the day, like that's all I did was just huck double front flips in the foam pit. And I was like, man, I gotta I need a different lip. I want to do this on Mega Ramp so this was 2008 then. That's when it was because I got a medal in 2007 riding Mega Ramp.
Doing what?
What was my run?
Yeah.
I did flip, double whip to tail whip, I think.
So you got a medal in the Mega Ramp before you ever did the double front flip?
Yes.
Okay.
And then going into 2008, that's when I had this session, realized I could do these double front flips. So I was like, I need to go somewhere and figure this out. And I'm like, where can I go? And I was like, I can go to Pastrana's. He has moto lips that are like similar to a Mega Ramp lip, you know?
Yeah.
So I hit Travis up and I was like, hey dude, I'm working on this trick and I think your place is like the only place that I can do it.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, come down. So I went down and dude, first try, double fronts, like right into his foam pit. I did it. I moved a bunch of lips. He has so many lip options.
It sounds like you knew what you needed and he had it.
Yeah.
You know, it was already
worked.
calculated.
Yeah, it just worked. Yeah. So I tried it on like 4 different lips. Like he has a lip too that is like maybe 7 foot tall and it's just a normal box lip.
Okay.
And I was able to do it on that too. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like this is exactly what I need.
Do you want to ever do it on dirt or on a box jump?
There was definitely a time where I wanted to.
Okay.
I mean, kind of still is now, but I would really need basically need to like move to somewhere where I could have a foam pit all the time.
I get that.
Because it's like, just like anything, if you're like trying to build muscle to reach a squat weight or something, like you need to be repetitive at it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or at least I do. And, so with that said, like there was one time like Heath Pinner had this crazy big dirt jump at his neighbor's house and he shot like one ad on it. There was a straight one and then there was a big hip and it was like you started at like the top of this dude's property and you pedaled down the fence line and then you hit like a 90 berm or something and you just pedaled straight down this hill. It was like you maxed out and you had to jump it and it was big.
Yeah.
The landing wasn't very big. It was just a massive step up. But that was like the one place that I wanted to go and try to, and it just never worked out.
Gotcha.
But I'm pretty sure I could have did it there because it was a big jump, you know? So fast forward, I do that at Pastrana's or whatever. And the next day I go back to Woodward and they had just bought like this big airbag thing.
Okay.
And it was like an airbag that was like, I don't know, 60 feet long or something. Like when you landed on it, it was around like 40, 50 feet long. And then you rode out.
Okay.
So it was like an airbag with like the foam that they use on top, like a big rollout of foam, and then a resi on top of it. And the lip to it was like a Mega Ramp lip. It was shorter, but it was like a wedge, super mellow. And I remember we were filming something for Levi's at the time, and Will Stroud was in town, and I was telling Will, like, dude, I want to do this like double front flip thing. I think I can do it. I just did it at Travis's. Like, I just need to go down there and like do it, you know?
Yeah.
He was like, dude, I'll go. We'll film it, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So we went down there, like set it all up, blew the bag up. Like I got a couple runs in, did a couple fronties, and it was just like, came down to me just hucking it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I rolled in. The first one I did, I just felt the rotations.
Yep.
So I sent it, felt the rotations. And at that time, I still didn't really know like where I was.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't fully calculated that you...
Yeah, but I knew like if I saw blue twice, like that was the sky, you know?
Yeah.
Like stuff around the edges was still pretty blurry.
Yep.
And
so you did 2 and let go or what?
No. So I did the very first one I did to that resi airbag thing. I went around twice, but I was kind of open. Like my arms and legs were open. I wasn't fully tucked in. And I landed back wheel and just like manualed for a little bit and just looped out.
Okay.
And I was like, I've got it. Next run. I know I have it, you know? So I did it perfect. Next run. I think I did it a couple more times that day. And then I went to the Worlds. Actually, the Worlds. I won the Worlds that year too in dirt.
Okay.
And the jumps were big and they were awesome, dude. Like I was so dialed at that event, like truck to whips, 3 double whips, flip double whips. Everything was easy because the jumps were just so big and lofty. Like it was like riding in a foam pit. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And at one point in my mind, I was like, I think I could double front flip this jump, but I really wanted to save it for X Games. So I didn't do it. It was like another time in dirt. That's why I just wanted to bring that up.
I think you made the right move though,
yeah,
saving it.
Totally. And I went from Germany straight to LA for X Games. So I hadn't done one for like a couple weeks or whatever. And basically what ended up happening at X Games was that same exact thing. The first time I did a resi, like I laid down a solid run.
Did you do it in practice or no?
Nope. Didn't do it in practice at all.
Did the competitors know you were going to do it?
I think Kevin and Chad knew.
Okay.
That was it. I think or maybe, I'm sure by then, like there had to have been some kind of rumor.
I knew you were going to do it before you did it because I think you told me about it.
I probably did, yeah.
But at the same time, I hadn't seen the footage or anything.
Right.
So there's 2 things you've told me as long as I've known you that you told me you were going to do. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. And one was the double front flip and the other was the front flip on a pyramid, just on a wedge.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember both those times I was like, I don't know if he's fucking with me or not. And both times you did it. So I guess I just gave myself away. If you ever want to pull a fast one on me, I guess you have my brain in the palm of your hands. But anyway, so you're at X Games.
But yeah, so I'm at X Games. I put a solid run in and then I start doing the double front flip. And the first run.
This is 2008, did you say?
Yeah, 2008. Okay. So the first run I did, and I rode for AMP then. So going back to that Red Bull conversation, I signed with them in 2009.
Okay.
So 2008 X Games, first time doing the double front flip. I stayed open, landed, just looped out.
Yep.
But I knew it. I was like,
the crowd go fucking insane.
They went nuts.
I mean, even more importantly, did the other riders like lose their shit?
They did, yeah. And that just built up the anticipation of it too, you know. And I'm sure TV was loving it, you know. Yeah. But yeah, and then I went back up for there were like 4 or 5 runs that year.
I think there still are.
Yeah, there's still a lot of runs.
It's crazy.
It's a lot of runs. And then I went up the second attempt at it, pulled it, but then dead sailored the quarter.
Okay.
I just think I was so excited. Like I did. I remember like landing it and like going up the quarter and I was just like kind of blank. Like, what do I do? You know, and I go up the quarter and I kept getting that year particular. I wasn't riding the quarter very well that year. Like the year before I maxed out at like 17 and a half feet, like doing turn downs or something.
Yeah. But
in 2008, I was doing this thing where I was going up the quarter pipe. And then when I would get to the coping, I would like turn my front wheel a little bit and it was sending me like kind of almost fishtailed, you know?
That's dangerous.
It is dangerous. and on top of the excitement of like actually pulling what I wanted to do. So the second run, like I just dead aired it. I got like a low score because I didn't do anything in the quarter. Fans are pissed. The whole stadium's on their feet, booing the judges, which I still feel bad about. And
not your problem.
And so I went back up, did it again. My whole thought process of it was, I don't want to win like an X Games medal doing an X up. That was my thing. I was like, I either need to do a tail whip or a turn down. The thing in my head that I wanted to do was I wanted to do like X up to turn down on the quarter pipe. Okay. Do like a combo, you know? And for whatever reason, every time I did the double front and landed, I went up that quarter and I hooked it just slightly enough to make me feel really weird in the air.
Gotcha.
And I couldn't even, honestly, if I went back to that moment, I don't even think I could even squeak an X up in because
you're just busy hanging on for life, trying to make it work.
Yeah, it just felt weird, you know? And yeah, I didn't medal that year.
I remember just comments on the site, comments on the site on Vital. That was like the most pissed ever people were
really mad. Yeah.
You know,
but I get it. It's tough. You know?
See both sides. I see when you're judging them that, you know, I totally see why, but on the other hand, maybe it's clearly communicated to you guys, but at least to the crowd and whatnot, the quarter is more important than the jump. And that isn't really communicated to you.
Yeah, and especially that was the second year that they, or maybe the third year.
I think it was the third
event.
year. I think it was the third year.
Yeah. So 06 they did a demo in the parking lot of the Home Depot Center.
Okay.
Which was in Carson, California, separate from that whole
Staples.
Staples Center. And then so that was like a demo, but they did metal still. They still did like a podium, I believe, for that.
That sounds like fraud.
And then the first year inside was 07 when I medaled, and then second year inside was when I did the double front.
Are you sure?
Yep, positive, 100% positive.
What is that the one where what year did Dave get third?
That year. The year I did double front flip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
gotcha,
I was riding with Dave.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, because it went like Kevin, Chad, Dave, or something like that.
Yep.
And,
You're exactly right.
Or Chad, Kevin, Dave, whichever.
And that's
one.
the year that Jake Brown got worked.
I think so. Yeah,
that was the first indoor one. I just remember because I didn't go to a lot of X Games, and I was at that one.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't change you made an extra $2 million. I'd change a lot of things about a lot of things in my life.
Like I said, it's all a learning experience at this point. So,
anyways, okay. So what I was getting at with this is let's talk about essentially you ink yourself a deal with Nitro doing this shit in shows for a good amount of money.
Oh God.
No, but this is a big topic of conversation.
This is, yeah.
And this is a big topic. This represents a lot of things going on in BMX, apparently.
Yep.
So you learn this new trick. You own this new trick.
Which is double fronts.
Double front flip.
The only person on the planet that can do it.
Only man on earth. You figured it out. You found out it was possible. Like I said, somebody that's been involved with BMX for quite some time, I didn't know if you were joking when you told me. That's how crazy and out of reality it was.
Yeah.
And this is right around the same time that Nitro was starting to do shows.
Yeah. This was the very first year.
Yeah, exactly. And Nitro shows were different then than they are now. Meaning, was it on a Resi ramp?
I mean, they're all on Resi ramps.
Even from the beginning, they were on Resi.
Yeah, even from the beginning.
But when it first started, it was like, you win stuff, so you're going to be here. It was the A-list, the best riders on planet Earth. It was Pastrana. It was you. It was Chad Kagi.
In going into this conversation, I don't want to name any specific people for what we're about to talk about.
You said you're an open book, so it's okay, so you can.
I know, but I don't want.
Unless you lied to me.
I did not lie, but I'll withhold names from this topic.
That's fine. It's not about people. It's about a situation.
Yeah, it's about and still current things. I believe, right? This is still something that's happening, right?
I think it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
I think BMX. One of the downsides to BMX is one of the downsides, and I understand why a lot of people will, steal somebody else's bread.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the main things right now is people don't know their self-worth, right? I've always had a good idea of like what my self-worth is going into a contract or an event or whatever it is.
And that's why I have to give you $15,000 to do this podcast.
Exactly. That's exactly why. And going into those first years of Nitro Circus Live.
Well, hold on. Backpedal. Okay. So you are the only guy that does this trick. They want this trick in their show. They want
this trick in their show.
And they're going to pay you blank to do it. Whatever it is, it's a good gig.
Oh, it's good.
Is it $6,000 a night?
It is more.
$10,000 a night?
It is more.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So $10,000 was just the normal show rate. Okay. If I didn't do the double front flip.
Man, it's changed.
But if I did the double front flip every show, then I was projected to make X amount more, right?
How much? What are you hiding?
I don't know.
Is it double?
I don't know. It's weird talking about money, I guess.
But we're talking about things in the past, and we're talking about self-worth.
So I believe there were 7 shows lined up.
So it wasn't like it was at the time. It wasn't like there's 6 shows a week, whatever, It was like, the tour was on a bigger scale, I feel like.
Yeah. It was the beginning of the tour. Okay. Or the first shows ever, right?
Yes, this was the birth of it.
So,
yes.
Now they do how many shows a year?
That's what I'm saying. They do
hundreds of shows a year, right?
They have like multiple teams out at once. It's a different ballgame.
So back then it was, the very first year was 7 shows, and it was me, McCann, Kagi, and I think it was just us three for BMX.
Okay.
Might have been one other person, but I honestly, I can't remember.
Those are the ones that I remember.
Yeah, it was, they started assembling this team in 2008.
And I mean, at the time for that ramp, what an all-star team.
Right.
I mean, you're taking the guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're the guys
minus K-Rob. You guys are the ones that are podiuming, doing, you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, we're the guys pushing, like, big jumping at that time, I guess.
Yeah.
And so overall, for 7 shows, I was able to make over $100,000 had I completed like double front flips every show.
Did you have to send it?
Even if I didn't, I would still make.
Did you have to send it or do you have to land it?
I can't remember the contract.
Okay.
And this is part of the reason I can't remember either is because when things went south, I was like promised a contract like that week, and then things went south.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened was. I was already negotiating my contract. Like me, McCann, and Kagi were tight.
Yes.
Like open communication. Like,
I mean, you guys were all living at Woodward at the State College at the time.
Exactly.
So you guys, even outside of business and contests, you guys would potentially see each other once or twice a week at least.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so we were very open with our communication. Just so like we knew we were all on the same level. Like didn't want this guy screwing another guy or whatever. Yep. Like just have our rates and that's what they are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And basically I went out to Temecula, California, I believe it's still where they do all those nitro practices now.
Is it? Okay.
Eleanor or not Eleanor?
Elsinore?
Elsinore, you know, Temecula, whatever. Oh, it was at Palo Raceway, actually. That's where it was.
Okay.
And they had the ramp set up out there. And
to foam or to the resi?
So they had it. So for a couple of days they had it to like basically they had the landing, which was already built resi.
Yes.
And they boxed it in like super ghetto like and filled it with foam.
Okay.
So we had a couple days to just like huck stuff that we want. Like I learned double front no handers.
That's a good idea.
The same year that I learned double fronts.
Yeah. Because
I had that option to learn.
No, on their end, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So we practiced for a couple of days like that, and then they took the walls away, and then it was a normal resi.
Okay.
So I was doing my thing, practicing. The main dude, who's a big douchebag, he
Mike Pora?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was there. He's part of the reason too, but I could see from his perspective, like he's trying to save a buck.
I think in his end, he was never emotionally invested. He was a businessman.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to roll over traditional business practices into these sports that are our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, at the time I was really good friends with a rider, and he was out there for the practice as well. And he was like, man, I really want to try like double front flips. And I was like, I mean, I'll help you. We're homies.
Of course.
Like, we're close homies at this point. Like he's like coming in from out of country, and I'm like, you can stay at my house for free until camp opens and you can move there, whatever. Like we're dudes. I went to where he lives. And
we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're
exactly.
Homies. Yeah.
We're friends. We're good friends. And, so I was like, cool. Yeah. I'll show you what's up with him. So I kind of like teach him, and he kind of flops around like it's the last day that I'm there, and I was flying out the next morning. So I kind of told him, and he tried him a couple times, but it wasn't quite yet clicking, you know? And then I guess like the next day he figured him out, and then was doing him that whole day. And then they took the foam back away and went to the real ramp, and he did him on the real ramp or whatever. So now there's 2 of us that can do double front flips, right?
Yep. So
I kept hearing this rumor that he was doing them and blah, blah, blah.
And you're like, fuck yeah, I taught him.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah. And then I started to think like, oh, and then I heard the rumor that Mike Pora approached him about a much, much lower price per show.
Okay.
Like $500 a show.
And you were potentially going to make 6 figures doing 7.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
6 figures doing 7 of them to $6,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I called him and I was like, hey man, this is what I've been hearing. Like, I'm not mad.
And,
like,
you guys were tight, so it wasn't weird to call him. Like, hey man, what's the deal? Like, just tell me what's going on.
Just tell me what's up. I'm like, I'm not mad. It's a trick. Like, people are going to learn it.
100%.
It's not my trick. I'm just the first dude to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't own this trick, but in the market that we're playing in right now, like, there kind of is a bit of an ownership. Not saying that I own it, but like, someone needs to do this trick for the rate that it needs to be done at. And I told him, I said, I don't care if I get the job or if you get the job. The only thing I care about is that you and I are the only people on this planet that can do this trick. And we need to hold it for the market value that it's worth.
Yeah.
I said, honestly, if you get it, awesome. Like, I'm stoked for you. I could really care less.
You're essentially saying, let's not get into a bidding war here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said, and I told him, I was straightforward. I said, listen, these are the deals that Chad, Stevie, and I have.
So you told him what you make.
Yeah.
You were completely transparent, 100%.
Completely transparent.
Okay.
I said, this is what I'm making for the one show without double fronts. And this is what I'm making with double fronts. And I broke it down. I said, so say I do double fronts all 7 shows. This is what I make.
Yeah.
I said, if you're going to do the show, you need to do it for that same price.
Yes.
I said, there's no negotiating that.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
One of us is going to make the money. We need to do this because the money has to stay there. It can't go from this like outrageous amount to nothing.
Especially with it being a trick that's new, you do it and he does it.
Yeah.
To where you only have X amount of time before. You might only have this couple year window to make good money doing it.
Exactly.
You know?
I laid it all down, like, pretty transparent, and we're friends too. I wasn't beating around the bush, like, straight to the point. So long story short, I think he took the $500 or whatever it was.
Fuck.
And that was that. And I said,
and you were done.
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess we don't need to be friends anymore. Like,
yeah,
that's that, you know,
mm-hmm.
Like, I just cut my ties. Like, I was like, whatever. And I wasn't even mad that I didn't get the gig or that I missed out on like making money. Cause that wasn't really important to me. And I was already making great money with the sponsors and things that I was doing anyways. Like, that Nitro stuff was just a bonus.
Life wasn't rough.
Yeah.
Life was good.
Life was great.
You know, that's BMX is so tough because it's so easy to see both sides.
No, totally.
Where it's like,
I get it.
Where it's like $500 to do this trick. Like, I can do this twice.
Yeah.
And I pay my rent.
Dude. And,
you know,
and this is from what I understand now too, is like, maybe back then I could do this twice and I could pay my rent, but now it's like dudes take deals that can't even cover their cell phone bills.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
100%. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's only gotten worse, but it's like, dude.
Well, even like to this day, you know, you look at the Nitro shows, and there was a time when you were doing these 7 and making 6 figures doing this trick. And the guys to this day, they take care of the guys. The Nitro guys make a living. And the lineup of guys they have, maybe there's a couple, but most of them could not go be a pro rider. Go be a sponsored guy that can go to these events. Most of them are just kind of like, they're meant for this.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have to ride a lot.
They're a special breed.
And they have
to
ride a lot of shows, but they make a very good living.
Yeah,
very good living. I was in Australia recently, and I saw one of the guys, and you know, no disrespect, but he wasn't much of a BMX rider. As far as like, we were at the Vans event, and he was there, and he was nothing special. Then I saw him put on his Rolex. You know what I mean? And
right,
more power to you.
Yeah.
You earned that Rolex doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a line, and this is not all the same.
Yeah.
This is not there's levels to this.
No, totally.
You know?
Just like everything. I mean, freestyle is freestyle. It's whatever you're doing on a bike and you're happy.
100%.
That's
no,
awesome.
no. I think the Nitro thing has a big place. I think it can be a gateway to get people into BMX.
Oh, most definitely.
And it's a tool for, you know, I think one positive that comes out of your situation is this created a new outlet for guys to make a living riding.
Yeah. No doubt. Without a doubt.
You are a cool, marketable, good-looking, talented guy that is going to make a living in BMX one way or another. just you can exist. You can ride your bike really well. You can represent brands. You can hop on camera and say some stuff. You can sell signature parts. You can make a living.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these guys can't. You know, you can go win a contest. You have won contests. You'll most likely win more contests. These guys can ride the Nitro shows and make their living and make a good living. Make 6 figures, man.
Oh, most definitely.
Make 6 figures. That's huge.
And I know like the deal that like Chad McCann and I had, like, I know Stevie and Chad, I think maybe they got 3 good years out of it. And then that's when like a lot more dudes started coming in, like undercutting everyone, and stuff got real crazy. But, yeah, I mean, more power to you if you can do that and you love it and whatever, that's great. I've got nothing against Nitro Circus. Like, it's actually a kind of almost a blessing in disguise for me, because kind of what Nitro has turned into over the years, like, you know, those guys go out there and they do those big, like, gnarly tricks.
They do. Which
I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I don't want to send myself for what they're doing, you know?
Yep.
And not only that, but like, I don't think I can fake all those celebrations.
The dancing.
Dude, it's just too much. Like, it's awesome when your friend lands like something new the first like 5 times, but
100%.
When those dudes do hundreds of shows a year, is when I can't be fake like that, you know?
You know, and the bottom line is the key word here is show.
Yeah, it's a show.
Yeah,
it's a total show.
The audience goes and they buy their ticket and they bring their family and they buy their popcorn and they sit down and they get a great experience.
Yeah, they really do.
You know, I think when it started, it was that, but also kind of for the core. It's not for us.
Yeah,
and it's fantastic.
I've actually never gone to a Nitro show. One year, Zach Warden was doing shows and they did one in Anaheim, which is pretty close to my house.
Yep.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm going to get you Enjoy tickets and have you guys there as like my guests." And I'm like, "Cool, man. Like, don't stress it. Like, I don't want you to like, you know,
don't waste a favor on it.
Yeah, whatever.
You know,
like,
if it's easy,
if it works, I'll be there for you. If it doesn't, like, just know that I want to be there for you, kind of deal. You know?
Yeah. And just realize if it doesn't work, we're going to have a great night. She and I together, we're going to have a great dinner. You know, it's not like our lives are based around this.
Exactly. And what ended up happening was, like, I guess usually he's allowed to have like 2 tickets per show, and they wouldn't give him any tickets. And that was
because it's Anaheim, because they all have their friends and family there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was kind of the last straw for me. I was like, well, I guess I'll never go to one then.
Yeah. I went to one and it wasn't for me. But it was cool. I'm glad I went. There's a lot of impressive things happening. But what got me, and you'll understand this, and you've probably heard this, but like, a guy would go and do a trick and not pull it, and that would cross that trick off the list. Right. I'd be like, okay, he's going back up. Now we're going to see it. No.
Yeah.
They just send it, you know, and the audience doesn't care. Like I said, it's a show.
Hey, it doesn't count unless you pull the rollback, right?
Come on, man. I'm paying you a lot of money to do this. Don't steal my lines. don't pull the double front flip move on me. But no, I thought that was a crazy story, and you hear about it a lot. And unfortunately, I think it mirrors a lot in BMX, where guys are quick to undercut their equals. They're not, you know, equal is a hard thing to say, but more like they're allies. Look, we're all kind of in this together. We're all fortunate. All of us that do and have made any money off this and been able to do it for any sort of a job, we're all very fortunate.
Oh, so fortunate. Yeah. I as every year goes by in my career, like, I'm just stoked to still be able to wake up every day and ride my bike. And,
100%.
You know, and
it's also, but I think also as we get older, and were you born in 85?
86.
What month?
March.
Okay, I'm November. So we're basically the same age. And like, I think we've both been in the game long enough to know that, like, I know for a fact you work your ass off and you treat it as a job.
I do, yeah.
And I do as well. And I think at our age we have a different respect for it.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
I mean, I try and have a balance, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, I love all the aspects.
Yeah.
But I've worked for so many big corporate companies that have sponsored me over the years. I've just learned so much. I've learned a lot of things.
That's why when you land on that fence with your legs spread, you're already thinking what the heck and not what the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. and because of that, and being in the sport for a long time, it's that's why it's a job too.
Yeah.
Like when I was rolling in for my winning run at Dew Tour, I was rolling in because I wanted to like up myself. I wanted to see if I could better my last run.
You were already satisfied. You'd already won what you wanted to do.
I was already satisfied. Yeah, like I didn't, I was like, dude, 7th place. This is sick. I can go to Denver.
Yeah. I can ride the next one.
I don't have to ride the open qualifier. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
But, now it's, you got to strategically plan everything that's happening.
What are you thinking? What's after BMX for you?
Dude,
you still have many years in the game here, but I mean, as far as
I hope I do, yeah. I'm you never know what can happen out there, but
I mean, you'll be on your bike regardless for a while. But
I'm pretty consistent with how my riding is. Like I know what tricks I really love doing, what tricks I don't really want to do, and I found a happy balance between like, depending on how a contest is set up, like if I just got to go there and do these banger tricks, or if I can mix in some of these more trail style tricks that I enjoy doing more, but yeah, that's a tough question because I feel like whatever I choose to do, I'm going to do it really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that too with my brother and like Rothrock Coffee. Like he was really, really good on a bike. He's better than me on a bike. He's so good, my brother. But his passion for coffee is like insane.
Yeah.
Like he, you know what I mean? He's progressive and he knows what he wants to accomplish. And I think it's just kind of our way, like as Napolitans, that's like how we kind of live our life. But
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm interested in, man. Like the thing that scares about me, the things that I'm interested into are like the things that I've learned along the way of being a pro bike rider.
Yeah.
Which is like a lot of it comes back to like taking care of your body. Like I feel like I could go back to school and become like an awesome chiropractor or like an awesome massotherapist or like something in that. But dude, if I
professional sex guy
that, yeah. Like, but it's scary to think like, okay, if I tomorrow like go to chiropracticschool.com and like sign up for college courses, like, dude, I'm not going to be able to do that profession for like another 8 years.
Yep.
That's the scary part. But also, like I said, like I've rode for a lot of big brands and companies. Like I've pretty much learned like a lot of stuff in marketing and PR.
It's funny, man. When you do what you do and to the level you've done it, you learn marketing, you learn social media, you learn business relations, you learn all these things that people go to school for years and years and years to learn in an experience level and a firsthand level to where, a guy like I would so much rather hire a guy like you than I just went to business school. My parents paid for it. Now I'm ready to make money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but I'm not hiring, and you don't need a job, so we're both still riding the wave.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Whatever I'm gonna do, like it needs to be pretty close to the amount of passion that I have for BMX.
Yep.
That's realistically the hardest part. Like, dude, last year, for 2 or 3 months, 3 months maybe, I went to Riviera Maya, Mexico.
Yeah. And
dude, I got on Nate Wessel's crew and just built ramps for 3 months, like at the new facility down there.
Yeah.
And it was great. I loved it.
So you unfortunately had to go live at the Hard Rock in Cancun for 3 months?
Yeah. I mean, let's just say if it was my first flight, they bumped me up to first class.
Yeah.
Like if I went, there you go. Which oddly enough, the first time I ever went on an airplane was with Ryan Barrett, and we were going to Oklahoma City for CFB. That was the first time I ever went on an airplane, and we were flying with Northwest Air, which isn't an airline anymore. Yeah. And he had status on them, and he somehow convinced them to bump me to first class with him. So my first flight was actually first class, and everything after that was pretty terrible in economy. But
that's rough, man. You don't want to learn those things till you're older and later on in life, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because once you go there, it's just, you're screwed.
Yep. But, you know, again, like I want to, whatever I do, I want to be able to put like all of my passion and drive into it. And I like helping people. I've realized like if I didn't narrow it down to something, I like helping people. I mean, I guess the definition of helping, like if you are a car mechanic, you're helping people, but like, I really like helping people be able to live like a better life. Like I've taught,
you could argue that everybody
people,
that serves you a sandwich is helping you because you
True.
need food, but I think there's a difference between helping people and doing a service.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, totally.
Even if you hire somebody and you pay them or whatever, there's a difference. Like what I walk out of here with is going to help me live better, or what I'm going to walk out of here with is a tool so I can live, meaning like I fixed your car, I served you a meal. Yeah. I think those are different things.
No, totally. They are. Yeah. I mean, there's times like in, you know, on a BMX level where like people come up to me and they're like, hey, like something's wrong with this or whatever, and I don't want to go see whoever. I'm like, oh yeah, like that happened to me one time. Like just like try this or this stretch, or like kind of work your thumb into this area and see if it lets up, or you know what I mean? Like,
hey, I need some help. I want to do double front flips so I can take your money.
Oh, Kyle.
But no, I hear what you're saying. And that's good. And I think there's so much positivity in what we do that I understand your desire to help people. You know, you're not going to, you know, live the life you've lived and come out of this like, I just want a job. Like, no, man, shit's good. Shit's always going to be good.
Yeah.
And we've all been brought up in this mindset where we know a lot of things and how we can translate them into good, you know, positive things. And
it's funny too, because like through the really good days at Red Bull, I was like, man, if I could like have the longevity of an athlete, like, which at the time would have been like Corey Martinez or whoever, you know what I mean? That's been on Red Bull for a long time. Like, man, I would love to like transition into like an athlete manager position, like at a company like Red Bull, because they like that. Again, that's me helping another person in a field that I am super passionate about. Like that would be really cool. And oddly enough, it was funny. Like when they told me they didn't want to re-sign that contract, they kind of offered me like not a position in-house, but like they wanted me to pitch ideas to them, which I already know how that job goes with like people that just pitch random ideas to them. And then 2 years later they stole it. But of course, but they kind of pitched something like that. And I was like, oh man, that could be
we don't want to
cool
pay you, but we'd still like your brain.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, like even stuff like that, I wish hopefully like the BMX market can bounce back a bit and you know, we can generate more money and funds to do cool things that companies like Red Bull were doing, you know, 10 years ago. That would be awesome. Hopefully, I would love to be able to help people. Like Luke Seal, my buddy that helped me start Dreamline, he does his own thing called Modified Content, and he basically houses athletes and their dream projects, and they go out and they find the funding for it. And you know, I mean, I still talk to him all the time, and since the last Dreamline ended, we've been trying to figure out new ways to bring that style of event back. Like I want to keep doing that event, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want Dirt to have that sick spotlight that it has, you know? And I went up to Oregon like in March, I think. And I went to this mountain bike event called Fest Series, and it was like so sick. And like, it basically like the dudes told me like they started Fest Series because of what they saw us start with Dreamline. Yeah. Like they were not stoked on like the contests that were happening, and they were like, dude, BMX riders are riding bigger jumps than we are. Yeah. And they were like, that shouldn't, like, we're going to take this in our own. So they do these like, you know, 8 stops around the world. That's all awesome. Fest Series. Yeah. And like the way they do it's pretty gnarly, but I actually really like the way they do it, because the first year they did it, they were like, all right, we're going to do these events. Like we want all the dudes to come out like a week before, and we're going to build this course. Like the first year they were building courses, and now they just leave them and like revamp them, you know? But they were like, we're going to build this course, and then the whole next week we're just going to ride, and there's no real event. It's just them riding. And then
do it's they like self-judged or rider
judged?
Yeah,
exactly. Kind of how Dreamline was at the very first one.
Yep.
And
which I like.
It's the best.
That's awesome.
And in the second year, like everyone was like, they saw how amazing the stuff was the first year. So then now they have all these dudes banging on their door like, we want in. And they're like, nah. They're like, no, you didn't want to help out the first time. Like, you missed your opportunity.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a life lesson in that sense too, you know? Like anything you can do to kind of put out a life lesson out there these days is kind of interesting to me.
100%.
But
let's wrap this up. We're like double what we normally do.
Sorry.
I think
part one and part two.
No, fuck that. I think the last question you have to answer if you've listened. Who's your favorite rider ever?
I've been thinking about this.
Yeah, well, let's hear the goddamn answer.
Really long time. There's so many good riders out there. It's so tough, but I think I've decided that I'm going to revert to like my childhood.
That's what I did
when I first started riding, and I grew up riding like a Schwinn bike. We had a Schwinn shop in our town, so it was always like
Joey Garcia,
dude.
Joey Garcia,
yes,
is that who it is?
Yes.
Fuck yeah,
yeah. So they were always pumping like Miron, BF, Joey Garcia, Matt Polkamp, like the Foster Bros, Andrew Ferris, yeah. And dude, the very first movie I watched when I first picked up a bike was Schwinn's American Muscle.
Yep.
And I would just gawk over Joey Garcia's
God, he's
part.
so badass.
And I still trip out today. Like when we see each other, we're like homies, and that really freaks me out sometimes.
Yeah. No, and he's rad too, because he's done well for himself.
Yeah.
Totally. Smart dude, cool dude. Like, yeah. Shout out to Joey Garcia.
In his song, he rode to Tool in that song. Deaf and blinded. Dude, such a good part.
Sing that some more.
I can't.
Oh.
I'm not that good. But, oh, man. Yeah, Joey Garcia. So, long story short. Sorry, guys.
All right. Joey, that's actually...
I just wanted the podcast to be longer than it already is.
It worked. We're about 2, but we're not going to do it as 2 because fuck it. Why would we?
Well, Kyle, I really appreciate you having me on this podcast, man. I'm a huge fan of it. I've listened to all the episodes except for Ryan Mills, which I'll probably do tomorrow.
He's gonna hear this and he'll be so sad when he hears that.
No, dude. Ryan Mills is sick. I was at Lavin's when he 180'd over the wall.
I was there too.
Yeah,
we got a lot in common.
It was great.
Well, I gotta go.
Do things.
Piss out this whiskey.
There you go.
Thank you, Anthony. I love you.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, that does it for this week. Follow Anthony Napolitan on Instagram at Anthony Napo. And don't forget, it doesn't count if you don't pull the rollback. Thanks for listening. 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 Rollback. Thanks for